Imagine a world where the government controls everything you do, from the food you eat, the job you take, to the house you live in. That's socialism. In this system, the government takes charge of major industries, regulates production, and aims to distribute wealth more equally. The idea is to ensure that everyone has what they need, but at the cost of personal freedom and individual choice. Now, picture the opposite world, one where your success depends on your own efforts and the market is free for everyone to enter. That's capitalism. In a capitalist society, the market operates with minimal government interference. Individuals are free to own property, start businesses, and compete for profit. Your success or failure is determined by your ability to innovate, compete, and manage your resources. Now, picture the opposite world, one where your success depends on your own efforts and the market is free for everyone to enter. That's capitalism. In a capitalist society, the market operates with minimal government interference. Individuals are free to own property, start businesses, and compete for profit. Your success or failure is determined by your ability to innovate, compete, and manage your resources. Today, we'll dive deep into the debate of capitalism versus socialism. We won't just be throwing opinions at you. Instead, we'll take a closer look at hard data, real-world examples, and bring fresh insights into the conversation. By examining both systems through a clear lens, we hope to provide a balanced view. You may have heard about these systems before, but by the end of this discussion, you'll see them in a new light. We'll explore the strengths and weaknesses of both capitalism and socialism, and ultimately, you'll be better equipped to decide which system truly works better for society. At its very core, capitalism whispers of freedom, the kind of freedom that every individual yearns for. Imagine a world where you, and only you, hold the reins to your future. You own property, you run businesses, and every choice you make is yours to benefit from. The promise seems almost magical. Freedom to create, to innovate, to earn. Yet, here lies the question, does this freedom lead to prosperity for everyone? Or is it merely an illusion, luring us into a world where only a few are allowed to thrive? In capitalist economies, the rule of the game is competition. Businesses must fight for market share, pushing their limits to innovate. Through this struggle, wealth is generated not just for the owners, but for their employees, consumers, and society at large. It's a grand vision, one where the pursuit of personal interest is believed to create collective prosperity. But there's something dark lurking beneath this glittering surface. While some soar to unimaginable heights, others fall through the cracks, lost in the shadows of an unforgiving system. Capitalism thrives on competition, but competition doesn't promise fairness. In this world, success isn't for everyone. Those with more resources, better education, or simply a stroke of luck will flourish. Meanwhile, others who may have the same dreams, but not the means are left behind, struggling to survive. Let's pause for a moment and step into the heart of Silicon Valley, a place where capitalism's brightest stars shine. Companies like Apple, Google, and Facebook have transformed this region into a glittering jewel of wealth and opportunity. Here, employees are rewarded handsomely, consumers flock to cutting-edge innovations, and the economy hums with unstoppable power. But have you ever thought about the others? The average worker in a fast food restaurant or the factory worker in Detroit? While Silicon Valley blossoms, entire communities elsewhere wither, their dreams shattered by the same forces that lift others. You see, in this world of capitalism, there's an unspoken truth. Those who can compete are given the power to rise, but those who can't, well, they must simply accept their place. It's a dance, but one where the rules seem to be written in favor of the few. This is the hidden price of freedom in capitalism, a price that may not always seem fair. Now, enter the world of socialism, a realm built on the promise of equality and fairness. In this world, the government plays a central role. It's a world where the goal is simple: to ensure that everyone has access to the essential healthcare, education, housing. The idea is that no one should be left behind in a system where the wealth of society is shared more evenly. This sounds like a dream, doesn't it? A society where no one struggles, where everyone can live a dignified life. But is it truly possible? Socialists argue that capitalism inevitably breeds inequality. Without intervention, they believe the rich continue to amass their wealth while the poor remain trapped in their struggles. In their vision, the government steps in to correct these imbalances, redistributing wealth and providing services to all citizens. It's a world that promises to take care of its people, not just the fortunate few, but everyone. Look to the north, where nations like Sweden and Norway stand as shining examples of socialist success. These countries impose high taxes, but in return, they provide their citizens with universal health care, free education, and a strong social safety net. Here, people live with a sense of security, knowing that their basic needs will be met. They enjoy high standards of living, access to quality healthcare, and the comfort of knowing that social equality is within reach. It's the perfect dream, right? But, as with any dream, there's a price to pay. Critics of socialism warn that this idyllic system can stifle innovation. When the government controls large parts of the economy, the competition that drives progress can be weakened. Without the spark of competition, creativity might fade, and the drive to improve can slowly wither. In some systems, the heavy involvement of the state leads to inefficiencies. Jobs might be secure, but are people really free to innovate? Can the human spirit of competition and creativity survive in a world where the state takes care of everything? Socialism's critics often speak of a world where the government is the guiding force in every area of life. A world where freedom to experiment, to take risks, and to create something new is constantly checked by regulations, rules, and state control. It is a world of equality, but can it also be a world of growth? Can the same forces that ensure fairness also nurture the kind of wild creativity that powers breakthroughs? Imagine a world where the government is in control of everything: the markets, the industries, the very companies that create the products we use every day. In the minds of many capitalists, this is their worst fear. They believe that if socialism takes hold and the government begins to run the economy, it will stifle creativity, crush innovation, and strip away the individual freedoms that are the heart of capitalism. Take a closer look at Venezuela. In the early 2000s, under Hugo Chávez's leadership, Venezuela embraced socialist policies. They nationalized industries, took control of key sectors, and imposed price controls to ensure that basic goods were affordable. At first, it seemed like a noble cause, distributing wealth and reducing inequality. But as the years passed, the cracks in the system started to show. Inflation soared, businesses collapsed, and food became scarce. What followed was a dramatic collapse: food shortages, economic hardship, and widespread poverty. To capitalists, Venezuela's story is the ultimate nightmare. It's a cautionary tale that haunts their imaginations, a fear that once the government steps in, it will slowly but surely take control of every aspect of life. The danger, the erosion of personal freedoms. As businesses are restricted and innovation is held back, the economy stagnates. And the worst fear of all, society becomes dependent on government handouts, with individuals losing the drive to innovate, create, and strive for success. Imagine being an entrepreneur, pouring your heart and soul into building a business. Now, picture a government that controls how much you can charge, who can work for you, and even what your product should be. It's a world where your freedom to make choices is replaced by regulations. For many capitalists, this is a living nightmare where the very spirit of innovation is trapped within the bureaucratic machinery of the state. On the other side of the spectrum, socialists harbor their own deep-seated fears. They worry about the dangers of unchecked capitalism, the kind of world where companies operate without limits, focusing only on maximizing profits at the expense of everything else. This fear isn't just about money. It's about the environment, the exploitation of workers, and the growing gap between the rich and the poor. Let's take a walk down memory lane and revisit the 2008 financial crisis, a dark chapter in the story of global capitalism. In the years leading up to the crisis, banks and financial institutions were allowed to take reckless risks. With little regulation, they created and sold complex financial products that no one fully understood. The idea was simple: make as much money as possible, regardless of the consequences. When the housing bubble finally burst, the effects were catastrophic. Millions of people lost their homes, unemployment skyrocketed, and the global economy teetered on the edge of collapse. Socialists point to this as proof of capitalism's flaws. They argue that when profit becomes the sole priority, the system collapses, leaving everyone but the wealthy behind. The workers lose, the environment suffers, and the entire system becomes unstable. For socialists, the story of 2008 isn't just about the banks or the economy, it's about the human cost. People who worked hard all their lives saw their savings vanish in a heartbeat. Communities that relied on stable industries suddenly found themselves unemployed, with no safety net to catch them. It's a world where the greed of a few can cause the suffering of many, and where the gap between the rich and the poor widens beyond repair. The socialists fear that this is the inevitable result of an unregulated capitalist world. Now, let's step into the middle ground. The truth is, no country today is purely capitalist or purely socialist. The real world is more complex than that, and most nations have what's called a mixed economy, a blend of both systems. It's not about choosing one side or the other, but finding a balance that works. In a mixed economy, capitalism and socialism coexist, each playing a crucial role in shaping society. Take the United States, for example. On the surface, it's a capitalist powerhouse, with businesses privately owned and a free market economy. But the government plays a significant role too. It regulates key industries like healthcare and education, provides subsidies to certain sectors, and collects taxes to fund public services. The government ensures that some safety nets are in place, while businesses continue to thrive in an open market. Similarly, look at Switzerland and Singapore, two countries that have managed to create the perfect mix. They combine free market capitalism with strong government oversight. The market is free to operate, but the government steps in when needed to regulate industries, provide essential services, and ensure that everyone has access to opportunities. It's a system where the best of both worlds exists. The freedom of capitalism, tempered by the social responsibility of government. In a mixed economy, there's room for both freedom and security. Capitalism's power to drive innovation and growth is paired with the social safety nets provided by socialism. This balance helps to prevent the extremes of either system-unchecked capitalism that leads to inequality and social unrest, or a socialist system that stifles innovation and personal freedom. In a way, it's a psychological balancing act. People are free to pursue their dreams, take risks, and succeed in a market that rewards hard work. At the same time, they know that if they fall, the safety net is there to catch them. It's a system that recognizes the human need for both freedom and security, a system that offers opportunities for growth without abandoning those who need help the most. In a world dominated by capitalism, wealth is often seen as success. Countries like Singapore, Switzerland, and the United States show how this works. They have high economic freedom, low government interference, their economies thrive, and people are generally wealthier. But does wealth always lead to a better life? Wealth doesn't always guarantee happiness. Brazil, despite poverty and inequality, has high happiness levels. The key to happiness isn't just money. It's about social bonds and connection. People in poorer countries can feel more connected, which boosts their happiness. The pursuit of wealth often creates a cycle of striving, never feeling satisfied. In the race for money, people often sacrifice relationships and health. They end up questioning, is this all there is? What's the real cost of constantly chasing more? Wealthy nations tend to have higher living standards, but do they also have more happiness? Take Denmark. It isn't as rich as the United States or Singapore, but its people are happy. Why? It's not about money. The Danish have social trust and community support. They trust the government and feel secure. Happiness thrives in societies where people feel supported. Social trust is a big part of this. When people trust the system, they feel more secure. They know they will be taken care of if needed. It's not just about money. It's about feeling safe. In societies with constant fear of losing basic needs, happiness is harder to find. This shows how happiness is more about security and community than wealth. Inequality is a flaw in both capitalism and socialism. Both systems try to address it, but neither succeeds completely. In capitalist economies like the United States and Singapore, wealth concentrates at the top. While capitalism fosters innovation, it also deepens the gap between the rich and the rest. Socialism, despite aiming for equality, faces the same issue. Take Venezuela and China. Despite wealth redistribution efforts, inequality still exists. In some cases, the government controls wealth but ends up concentrating power in a few hands. Inequality causes a psychological divide. People feel the system is unfair. As the rich grow wealthier, the poor continue to struggle. This breeds hopelessness and resentment. Both capitalism and socialism fail to fix inequality. No system is perfect. Both have strengths, but also flaws that keep inequality alive. The psychological impact of inequality is real. It creates a society where most people feel disillusioned. The challenge is to balance these systems. Can we mix capitalism's innovation with socialism's fairness? Can we create a society where the wealthy do not dominate, but people still have freedom? This is the struggle at the heart of modern society, a struggle between freedom and fairness, opportunity and equality. So, which system works better, capitalism or socialism? The truth is, neither system offers a perfect solution. Each system has its strengths and weaknesses. Rather than choosing one or the other, what we really need is a system that combines the best parts of both. What we need is a system that merges the innovation and freedom of capitalism with the fairness and social safety nets of socialism. This blend creates a mixed economy, a balanced approach that helps societies thrive while ensuring the well-being of their citizens. It's the essence of finding a middle ground where both systems contribute to a more equitable and prosperous society. As we move forward, it's important to remember that no ideology is perfect. What works in one country might not work in another. Every nation has its own unique challenges, resources, and cultural context. So, while one system may succeed in one place, it might fail in another. By examining the data, learning from real-world examples, and keeping an open mind, we can design a system that works for everyone. The goal is not to favor one ideology over another, but to create a flexible, adaptable system that brings out the best aspects of both capitalism and socialism. And ultimately, that's the goal, to create a system where everyone has the opportunity to succeed and live a happy, fulfilled life. It's about finding the balance that ensures economic growth, personal freedom, social equality, and collective well-being.